Because what they need to do is they need to start the habit of investing.
Correct.
That little SIP that you put inside, a small amount, whatever you can afford at that point of time, eventually will compound to something greater. The problem is that people are thinking of that large win itself. You don't need to be tired to go to sleep. You need to be bored to go to sleep.
It's absolutely that. Just bore them to sleep. It's the most unfancy thing that leads to the most fancy results. And it's literally the most underrated thing in the process of everything and anything that you do. Consistency is literally the key.
Hello and welcome to the Compounding Mindset by Axis Mutual Fund. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and with me I have Paridhi Doshi. And today we are going to be talking about winning every single day. Can you win every single day, Paridhi?
I think we can. Small, steady wins, I think, every single day. Tiny,
Yeah.
tiny ones.
Tiny wins. The idea is to feel like a winner every day, right? So many people go through life wondering, what are they doing with their life? Oh, today was such a bad day. But imagine if you could feel like a winner every single day. And I think that is the key for today's episode and also a key to a happy life. So, Paridhi, what are 2-3 things that you do every day that give you that feeling of winning?
I think the first thing that starts off with is the way I wake up, I think, every single day. Instead of having to, let's say, keep snoozing the alarm, and this might sound like really small and really ridiculous, but it's just that if I wake up on that first ringer of the alarm and I'm up and out and about, I feel like, okay, I've set the tone of the day correct because I wasn't struggling to get out of bed. So that basically means I've started my day right. Second thing, and which is probably the most important thing for me as well, is not being late. And when I'm on time to work and or wherever I'm supposed to be, even if it's a weekend, I think that feels like the best way to set the tone. And I think third thing is getting my coffee. Correct. Super
Getting
important.
a good cup of coffee
coffee
is a win in the morning.
It is such a win in the morning.
And you said something so important, which is that not hitting that snooze. And we look for those big wins every single day about waking up at 5:30 or 4:30 in the morning. That's a big win for most people. But imagine whatever time you woke up, you just did not hit snooze. You make sure you woke up with that alarm. That itself is a victory. So, the idea is to look at the things that you're doing in life slightly differently. And for me, it is about my morning routine. So I'll enjoy habit stacking. Habit stacking is putting a number of small things together and doing them at the same time. So I have this one routine that I follow every morning where I wear this red light hat on my head. I stand on this vibration plate and I listen to this very inspiring 20-minute audio every single day. It's a 20-minute audio. The red light is 20 minutes and the vibration plate is 20 minutes. So it's a beautiful combination that takes place. We often look for a big habit to change, but imagine if you just focused on the small wins put together, it would create something very, very dramatic.
It's literally like taking the day by the hour. And if you get that hour right, and not even right, if you get that hour the way that you want it,
Forget hour, even 5 minutes.
even 5 minutes, right? It just feels like you've gotten it in control. It doesn't make you feel out of place or displaced throughout the day. And that itself propels you forward to having a good day. I think just those 5 minutes or just that hour an hour and making sure you're hitting whatever it is that you want to achieve out of those hours can actually make you feel like a winner. I think this is something that I tell all my clients that come to work out earlier in the morning. And I'm like, your hardest part of the day is done. You woke up, you showed up for yourself, and you did so voluntarily at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. I mean, come on.
Congratulations just for
you're
that.
literally a winner of the day. Congratulations on that. And everything from here is just going to set out to be correct.
Correct. This reminds me, of course, of when we're talking about finance. And there is something that many people message me and ask me, Ashdin, that I don't have enough money to start my investment. And they are looking at putting in one large lump sum at a time. They're thinking of creating big wins when they don't realize that all they need to do is just start small. Because what they need to do is they need to start the habit of investing.
Correct.
That little SIP that you put inside, a small amount, whatever you can afford at that point of time, eventually will compound to something greater. The problem is that people are thinking of that large win itself. And this reminds me of a very funny story. In fact, I talk about it very often. A friend of mine tells me a day before New Year's. We're approaching New Year's, and New Year, new me, and that's the whole thing, right? So she said, Ashton, tomorrow I am going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to run 5 kilometers, and I'm going to make this my daily habit. Now, as a habit coach, everybody tries to impress me with the habits. She has never run 5 kilometers in her life, and she has never woken up at 5 a.m. How is she going to do these two things on the 1st of January? So
Correct.
the idea is that we try and create these very large habits for ourselves, thinking that it's going to make a difference, thinking that it's going to be impressive to the other person. But what we miss is understanding that we won't be consistent with it.
And how about, if, for example, this same person, if they thought about having 5 tinier habits? I'm going to wake up without hitting snooze. I'm going to make sure that I drink that extra glass of water. If I can't run 1 kilometer, I'll make sure I'll get in 10 minutes on my foot. I'm going to eat that one protein portion on my plate, and I'm going to sleep on time. Imagine those are 5 different habits, smaller ones throughout the day, rather than having that one big habit of running that 5 kilometer at 5 a.m. in the morning. That stacking up week on week, day on day, is just going to be such a bigger gain as compared to wanting to having to run like 5 kilometers on the 1st of January. I think when I started with my SIP, I started with literally 2000 rupees every month. And month on month, now that 2000 has compounded out. So now when I was actually seeing my statement, literally yesterday, I'm like, when did this happen? I am sure over 2 years, I haven't put this much money. But when you actually see it 2, 3 years down the lane, you don't even realize how those habits have stacked up. And that also gives you courage, correct? Because I saw those 2000 rupees compound 2 or 3 years down the lane to such a big amount. I was like, okay, if 2000 rupees can do this, how about 2000 more? That courage is so important in having to keep going also. Instead, I would have gotten one big Rocky envelope and I would have decided this is the only thing that I am going to put into my investment. And then I would have waited an entire year to again for another Rocky to come and for another big stack of envelope to come in, only to make my investment. And that would not make any sense, even 5 years down the lane, because I'm waiting for that one windfall gain to come in rather than having to think of small compounding habits that happen literally day on day.
This is such a beautiful concept. So let's play a small game. Okay. You tell me one habit that people find very hard to do, and let's figure out what the tiniest aspect of this is going to be that people can start doing immediately. So what do you think is something that people find very hard to do?
I think getting the food correct,
So sticking to a nutrition plan.
sticking to a nutrition plan.
So the smallest habit that you can do for sticking to a nutrition plan is to have a tiny salad before you eat anything else. So you put your salad first, and the rest of it takes care of you. Similarly, right now it's wedding season. People are going to go
Yes.
to weddings. You have a huge buffet. 10 years ago, I used to go to the dessert counter first. But now what I realized is all I need to do is fill my plate with the vegetables first or the meat first and then choose everything else. And that itself is a win from a nutrition point of view.
Correct.
What do you think is a small win for people to go to bed on time? This is a big issue for many, many people, right? They stay late, till 1 o'clock, and they find it very hard to go to bed early. What do you think would be a small habit for this?
For them to have to put their phones away. That's it. If, let's say, and do so immediately after have your dinner. So if, let's say, you're having your dinner at 8 o'clock, 8:30 you wrap it up and you put your phone away. And automatically, eventually, they'll fall asleep faster. I think because we keep scrolling down the phone so much, no matter where we are on the sofa, in front of the TV, and in fact, any screen. After dinner, no screens. And you will either out of boredom get into bed and make sure that you sleep on time. So put your alarm, no screens after you've had your dinner. Up till dinner, sure, enjoy it, watch TV. But after that, I think that's one way that people can actually fall asleep faster. Not only because there's not going to be any blue light in front of them, they will actually spend quality time with people around or read a book or just get into bed on time.
You hit the nail on the head. I keep telling people that you don't need to be tired to go to sleep. You need to be bored to go to sleep.
It's absolutely that. Just bore them to sleep.
Okay, ask me something that they find people hard to do.
Walking and getting in their steps.
Lovely. So imagine if your entire habit just consisted of wearing your walking shoes.
Hmm.
That's it. You don't have to go for the walk. You just wear your walking shoes. Now you'll feel very silly wearing your walking shoes at home. Just by putting on your shoes, it'll automatically get you out of the door. Now, if you walk 5 minutes, or you walk 10 minutes, or you walk 1 hour, at least you've gotten into the habit of starting.
That's so interesting because a top CrossFit athlete, somebody who was really struggling to get their workouts in or even get into the headspace of getting their workouts in, what that person started doing, what that athlete started doing was they would wear a pair of slippers to gym, and they would do so purposely. And once they hit the gym, they would remove their slippers and then put on their training shoes. And the habit or just the switch of putting on their training shoes got them into the headspace of training better and actually getting into a workout zone. So
Correct.
you've said that so correctly.
So, in fact, one of the great habits for working out is something called a workout primer. So,
Correct.
it's a song that you play every time you go to the gym. The same song. You can't change it for the rest of your life. But that is a song that charges you up. And that every time you hear that song, you automatically get in the mood for working out. So these little habits that you start are the ones that actually will compound your growth going ahead.
And another great thing that she said, because I remember somebody who traveled from the place that I work, and that person traveled abroad to study. The person was finding it difficult to get into their workout routine again. He had a great routine when he was here. And what he started doing was, because we had this joke about me constantly playing one single song for warm up, that everybody was literally primed to warm up on that song. Somebody sent me a video clip at New Year's doing hip rotations on that very song at like 12 a.m. in the night because everybody was so primed up. So, the said person who traveled abroad to continue his studies, he always put on that song because that song was his cue to start working out.
I love it. Happens all the time.
And without us knowing so, just because we've set those tones through the day and that association, we automatically get into the habit of doing so.
And it's so interesting that what you said, this person traveled abroad. Normally, when you go abroad, or sometimes you fall sick, right?
Correct.
You cannot predict when these kinds of changes are going to take place in your life. You normally think that life is just going to go on the same way. And when you try to put these really hard, big habits in, what happens is that you suddenly find it very difficult when a challenge comes in. But when you have these small habits help you overcome these challenges. I just have to wear my shoes, whether I'm sitting here or I'm in London or I'm in Delhi. All I have to do is put on my walking shoes. So
Correct.
the simplicity of that habit changes and helps you overcome these uncertain times.
And these small routines, the things that we call routines, at the end of the day, is discipline. And it becomes discipline because you've done it for so long that it's part of your routine and you don't even think of it as the fact that you actually are disciplined. Taking those first set of veggies onto your plate in a buffet, putting on your workout shoes, listening to that song, all of those primers, all of those routines are at the end of the day discipline. And we all know discipline beats motivation any single day because you've set yourself up for those small wins, those small daily routines. You continue to do so and you continue to stack those habits and the gains that you're going to make from it. Simple thing as we've spoken about so many times about just automating your investments
Correct.
because you've made it a disciplined routine in your life. At the start of every month, that money is out of your bank account into your investment and compounding without you even knowing about it because you've created a routine out of it, because you've made it into a discipline.
It's like, and you remember we were talking about when hard times suddenly come. You were talking about your Rakhi envelope, and imagine if you only invested the Rakhi money that you got. Imagine 1 month, 1 year, you did not get the Rakhi envelope. That means you didn't get investments that year.
Exactly.
Imagine if you didn't get it for 2 years. That means 2 years of no investment. It doesn't make sense to wait for these big things to happen because you never know when a challenge is going to happen. It's like, people keep saying that I'm going to predict the market and I'm going to put the money in at that point of time. You cannot predict when something's going to go well, and you cannot predict when something's going to go bad.
Correct.
Correct? You have to be consistent so that you can ride the good times and ride the bad times as well. There will be days like right now, the weather's perfect. People are going to wake up and want to go to the gym and want to work out, want to go for that walk. It's going to be rain at some point of time. All that desire to go for a walk is going to go
Go
away.
away.
So, how are you going to stay consistent? Only if you have something small that you do every day will you actually be able to ride that wave that comes. So, the highs and the lows, the good times and the bad times.
It's about setting those systems to beat what the environment holds for you. Similarly, setting up systems to beat how the markets are going to go, as you said, because it's not predictable, but you have a system in place, or as simple as if you have the correct information sources in place that pop up on your phone or on your devices, you literally know that, hey, this is the correct source of information for us to be able to do something, irrespective of what the environment or the markets hold for you. You've written so many books. Reading is most definitely a habit that a lot of people struggle with because we all come in with the mindset that 10 pages or nothing. Those 5 pages of 7 pages don't count. So, how would you go about saying how to inculcate the reading habit?
So, when I wrote my first book, in the first launch of that book, somebody raised a hand and said, Ashtin, you wrote a book. Why did you write a book? Nobody reads anymore. I was like, you couldn't have told me this before I wrote my book. So after that, we actually started workshops on reading. And what I said in that workshop is that don't try and read for half an hour. Don't try and read for 20 minutes or carry your book with you everywhere you go, etc. Have one place in your house where the book is permanently kept. So your favorite sofa where you sit and have your tea or coffee, that book is permanently kept there. Your habit is to just pick it up and open to the page that you are currently on. Now, the fact that you open to the page that you're on, you'll read that page, maybe you'll read the next page. If you find it interesting, you'll continue reading. That is the key. It is that initial starting point of reading as a habit. And then, because of this, the following books I wrote in such a way that each chapter ended after page and a half. So it made it easy for people to then go from one habit to the next, to the next, to the next. And that is the way in which you approach reading. Because I know reading is something people find very, very hard right now. Also, when we were in school, we were forced to read. We didn't think of reading as something that was interesting. So now, if we change it around on its head and say, let's start small, you'll find that reading can be very pleasurable.
Exactly the same thing. My book never leaves my bed
There you
because I
go.
read in the night and it's right next to my pillow. So even if I'm extremely lazy, even though I know that reading is actually going to help me fall asleep better because my mind's completely off, I cannot skip it because it's literally next to my pillow. So I absolutely agree to that. And this is something I didn't even think about, but it's just always there because it was easy rather than opening up a cupboard, picking out a book, getting it onto my bed, rather than just keeping it on my bed.
The worst is when you carry it with you. It's in your bag. It never comes out of the bag.
That's
It
correct.
just gets completely mushed up with all the other things that go in it. And you never end up reading it.
Yeah, that's
So it's
absolutely
always
true.
better to have it somewhere, as long as you don't place anything on top of it.
That's true. I do not
Somebody will come and put a newspaper on top of it, and then that's it. You'll never see that book
book
again.
again.
Okay, I have another question for you. I find this difficult, and I know I'm sure all your clients find it difficult. Stretching.
They all
How do you
hate
make
it.
stretching easy for people and small for people?
The easiest way, I think, what makes it the toughest part of the workout is because you're already so tired, you don't want to do an extra thing. So, what I do for my clients, especially, I just get them to stretch wherever they are. So, that does not mean for them to pull out a mat, get onto the floor, have some added steps. If you're standing, we'll stretch standing. If you're on the floor, we'll start from there only. And eventually, once they've done the first stretch or second stretch and they felt better, they're just willing to do more. So rather than to make it an elaborate process of being somewhere, settling somewhere, we just start from where we are. And I think that makes it easier. If all stretches are standing, we stand, we do all stretches standing. If they're sitting, everything's sitting, rather than having to make it a complicated process.
That's very simple. Ease it out.
Ease it out.
I think a lot of people also find like, I just finished the full 1 hour workout. Now I have to spend another 15 minutes more on the stretching.
It's the entire elaborate part of it that makes it feel like a task rather than something that's going to be beneficial. So just start where you are, literally.
There was another way of thinking about it, which I tried for a bit, it worked, which was that my workout is for stretching. That means stretching is the ultimate workout because the other stuff was fun, right?
Fun,
I
yeah.
loved the weightlifting, I loved all of that. So my workout part was the stretching.
Stretching.
So that was the ultimate challenge for me. But I like this idea of yours, which was make it small, just wherever you are, do something and start that process. You don't have to roll out a mat, go to a separate area, nothing.
And something is better than nothing. A lot of times people are just crunched for time. And then it again becomes about the all or nothing process about, oh, but I didn't stretch my legs, I didn't stretch this, I didn't stretch that. You've got 3 minutes, do three stretches and go. That's absolutely fine. It's not about having to do that entire 15-minute routine, as you said, but it's just about doing something rather than having to do nothing at all.
Like SIPs, na? Automated.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to click a button, nothing. You set it up once, and where it is, it keeps going on.
Importantly, you don't have to wait for Rakhi.
You don't have to wait for Rakhi. You know, Paridhi, this reminded me of something that you said, which was that you saw your SIPs after a while and you said, wow, when did this happen? And very often, this is the reaction I get from people when we start habit tracking. So, habit tracking can be very elaborate. You can use, large spreadsheets to do this, or you can just use little post it notes where you put tally marks. But what I find amazing is when my clients afterwards come and tell me after 2, 3 months and they look at all the tally marks and say, wow, I actually did this on so many days. So, habit tracking is a very important part of these small habits because you don't feel like you're doing too much.
Correct.
But when you look back, that's when you realize just how much you've actually achieved.
Correct.
In the same way as your SIP,
Correct.
right? As soon as you see where you've put your money and how over a period of time it has compounded plus accumulated, you realize just how much or how well the system works.
We do a very similar thing with all our clients as well. At the end of the week, we send them what they've done in the week, along with the weights that they've used, and how 4 weeks down the lane, when they actually see the progressive overload, which basically means week on week, how they've gone from lifting 10 kilos to 12.5 kilos. Because 4 weeks down, those 12.5 kilos is going to feel like, oh, this is another 10 kilo. But they don't realize how far they have come until they look back and they see the small, tiny wins that they have accumulated over months. Especially when they hit that sticky point, right? Where there's going to be a time where your wealth might not be compounding, your weights might not be increasing. And that's the point where you start doubting if even the process is worth it. That's when they look back and they see your tracker, when they see the workouts that they've done and they see the accumulated effect of it, that they realize how big that win has been just because how consistent they were about achieving those small, tiny victories that led them to this milestone.
I think consistency is key for both these.
Every time.
Everything, your health, your habits, your life, your finances. If you can create systems for consistency, you can create systems for success.
It's the most unfancy thing that leads to the most fancy results. And it's literally the most underrated thing in the process of everything and anything that you do. Consistency is literally the key.
Boring things equals greatness.
Always, always. Just like stretching.
Just like stretching. Okay, Paridhi, I love this conversation. Now, what is one tiny habit that you are going to add to your routine today to start making that difference? And by the way, have you started your SIPs? Do start them as well, because that is a tiny financial habit for you. You've been listening to The Compounding Mindset with Axis Mutual Fund. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to hit like and subscribe so you know when future episodes come out. Now, Paridhi and I are going to be here and we read all your comments, so let us know which habits you're going to start today.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.